Warning, the following presentation is intended for mature audiences. This video contains graphic descriptions of true crime, party life, and adult dialogue. Viewer discretion is advised.
The library is open.
Hi, it's Cora. So I did some reading. James St. James's 1999 fabulously titled Disco Bloodbath, a fabulous but true tale of murder in Clubland.
You know, when I wrote Disco Bloodbath, it was meant as a cautionary tale.
Was retitled and recirculated with the release of indie film company WOW Presents motion picture Party Monster in 2003. The film aged poorly, with Seth Green, Macaulay Culkin, and Wilder Valderrama, three straight actors portraying over-the-top gay stereotypes, and cameos from the likes of alleged serial rapist Marilyn Manson. This admittedly fun disaster of a film is about the actual real-life murder of Andre Angel Melendez, who is sadly often a footnote in this story. Our major setting, New York City, 1990s, LGBTQIA plus club kid nightlife. In particular, the club Limelight, of which Michael Alig was a regular promoter. We'll get to him later. But first, you have to understand the club kid scene.
You know, in the very beginning, what we were doing, this whole club kid thing, there was a lot of positivity to it. There was, the message that we were getting out that, let's love yourself and be yourself and, who cares what other people think.
They would come to New York for acceptance.
That initially was what was so magical about coming to New York and meeting these people.
It made its mark because it screamed loud and clear and everybody heard it.
The group was notable for flamboyant and outrageous costumes, becoming a piece of moving art, really pushing the boundaries of queer aesthetics. It was an artistic and fashion-conscious youth culture, a definitive force in New York City's underground club culture.
We got to New York and all of a sudden we were like the big insiders.
Because they were free to express themselves any way they wanted. Nobody was going to ridicule them, nobody was going to say anything about it. Because in New York, everybody, at that time, who cared what you were doing?
The further you pushed your expression, the more you were included. And that was kind of a new experience for me.
There's a place for you if you feel like you're a freak. If you've got a hunchback, throw a little glitter on it, honey, and go out and dance and, show the world that it's okay. It's okay to have these weird thoughts in your head. It's about just letting it go and just, expressing yourself. And I think that that's a really positive message.
Several club kids have gone on to make long-lasting contributions to mainstream art and fashion. Obviously in things like Drag Race, but also notably, Lady Gaga's costuming takes heavy inspiration from the club kids. It was a microcosm of creativity, a place for the outcast youth to really find a sense of belonging. Angel was a 26-year-old small-time drug dealer who had come to New York City from Colombia at the age of 8. Obviously, he wasn't an 8-year-old drug dealer. He didn't start off that way. He had ambitions of becoming an actor-filmmaker, but in his late teens, he fell in with a racy nightlife crowd and became a full-time scene maker.
Angel was what they call a peer queen, right? Angel was part of that rough, gay crowd that hung around the West Village piers. He was a street guy.
He was a conspicuous figure at the club Limelight, where he could often be spotted selling Special K and ecstasy, even though he wasn't really one to partake himself, while wearing his trademark Barbella-style feather wings. He was the worst kind of drug dealer, one who actually wanted money for his drugs, but he loved this group. He felt he had found his tribe, his group of weirdos.
It's Angel, hi. Hi, Angel, how are you?
He died on March 17th, 1996. So who is James St. James? Why did he write about this? James is an original New York club kid and has a history with big names like RuPaul. Today, James hosts a web show called Transformations on the World of Wonder YouTube channel. James was friends with Michael Alig, and Michael is Angel's killer.
Where was Michael raised, Elkie?
He was raised in South Bend, Indiana.
Michael's childhood had a little paranoia and interest in the dark side. He loved horror films. I'm not trying to say that horror films are the mark of a future killer. I love horror films, and the genre often attracts vulnerable populations who see themselves in the victims. But Michael was definitely into the gore and drama of it all. There were also little signs of Michael's promoter future. He would make a lot of money by buying candy bars for 20 cents a piece and then selling them for $1 at school, making a lot of money. There's also this clip from the film.
When I was 10, my Sunday school teacher took me back to his house. He taught me how to French kiss, among other things.
He really took my boy under his wing.
His mother caught us in the basement, and she screamed, "I told you not to bring them here." And he said, "Don't, you'll frighten them away."
One night, Michael gave me a goodnight kiss that a little boy should not give his mother.
I thought everyone kissed like that.
There were occasions when he would come home and I would question him about a bloody nose or a bruise on his face or... and he would say, "Oh, I fell," or "I got into a ruffle."
But what really happened was the straight kids were...
The straight kids
saying, "Look at the CC,
school,
look at the freak," and knocking him about.
Were teasing him and roughing him up.
Now I went with them to the club. The drinking age had just risen to 21, and everybody thought this was the end of young people going out, but in fact, it was the beginning of young people going out. I don't know how that happened.
People really liked kids at clubs back then.
At one point, the tunnel basement was just filled with teenagers.
Underage, let's face it, they were there. Amazingly, nothing ever happened.
It was really sought after to get 50 and 60-year-old kids to come to a club.
I sort of was starting to get concerned a little bit about this, although New York was a different kind of town in those days. And I said, wow, you know, somebody's gonna come and inspect. You think has anything happened? No. And so this went for years. It went on for years.
When I first started noticing Michael, he was on the periphery of the club scene. And he was watching everybody and sort of taking everything in and learning.
When he first came into the club scene, he wasn't really into drugs or drinking. He would actually pretend to be more messed up than he was, just stumbling around and bumping into people. He liked being dramatic and causing a scene.
Some idea that he had.
The filthy mouth contest, if I'm not mistaken, in which people would go on stage and insult people in the audience. And I thought that was a good idea.
After that, he threw a lot more parties.
As the group's influence grew, they spread from the back rooms of lesser-known clubs to venues such as Area, Danceteria, and the Palladium. From there, Michael and his gang went on to run Peter Gation's club network, including Club USA, Palladium, Tunnel, and the Limelight, previously featured in my Drew Barrymore video. To draw crowds to these venues, Michael and the club kids began holding guerrilla-style outlaw parties, where, fully costumed and ready to party, they would hijack locations such as Burger King, Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's, ATM vestibules, and the New York City subway, blasting music from their boombox, and dancing until the police cleared them out.
And how long does it take for the police to come?
Well, in the case of the Lexington Hotel, it was about 15 minutes. This one was about
Chicago PD, they're pretty good. 5 minutes, this one right here?
No, 45 minutes.
45 minutes.
Police are really slow in New York.
Michael even once threw a party in a cardboard shanty town rented from homeless inhabitants who he had paid in cash and crack. He ensured that these events would happen in the vicinity of an actual club where the group could then camp out. It was great publicity.
It just hasn't hit me until just recently, really. How successful Michael really became and how fast. One of the first parties I went to, it was a birthday party for Michael at the Tunnel. And they drove me to the Tunnel in a limo with security and bodyguards. And when we got out in front of the door, everybody says, here comes Michael Alig and his mom. Hi, Michael, we love you, we love you.
Tell us about ecstasy.
Well, what do you want to know about it? It's
What is it and who takes it?
It's a pill and everybody takes it.
What, is it illegal?
No, it's perfectly legal. Of course it's illegal.
So, but it's widely available?
Well, you know, as much as anything else is.
And you gave one to your mom?
I gave some to my mother.
And Mom's here. Mom, Elkie,
Yes.
what happened when Michael did that?
It was a headache pill.
You thought it was a headache pill?
Yes.
And how did you feel after you took this
Got
pill?
rid of my headache.
At the height of their cultural popularity, the club kids toured the United States, throwing parties, certifying clubs for the Club Kid Network, and recruiting new members. They appeared in several random talk shows in the 90s. Michael, alongside some of the most relatable captions ever.
Amy Vership wrote a cover story for New York Magazine that put Michael on the cover, and it said, Club Kids.
I was watching MTV. They were interviewing Michael. He's on there talking about how he's running these clubs and college kids going to clubs at night and sleeping all day.
Michael never imagined what life could be like when he left his small town in Indiana to experience nightlife in the Big Apple. Now, what do your old friends in Indiana, do you expect? What are they thinking watching you right now? Love your haircut. I mean, it's just sensational.
Well,
low maintenance. I see that. It's great.
I don't know. I guess they're jealous because I'm having a lot of fun and they're not. I'm making a lot of money, having a lot of fun, and they're not.
I get the orange ears and the pink nose, but why the lipstick?
I'm not wearing any lipstick.
What's your future going to be like, Michael?
Gosh, I don't know. I'm sort of like living for right now. Right now. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. The world could end tomorrow, and I want to make sure I'm having fun right now.
As a ringleader, I guess you call him the ringleader of the Club Kids, Michael Alig has been on and in the scene for over 10 years. He's the only Club Kid veteran from our previous reports on this topic. Now, Michael Alig's style has changed every time he's been here. His current look, if you look closely, is sort of, what do you call that, accident victim drug addict. He proudly wears at other times phony neck braces, fake black eyes, made-up open sores, and hypodermic marks on his arms. Now, why, Michael? What's this new look all about?
I guess I'm bored. I don't know.
In his youth, he kind of resembled Drag Race Season 7 alum Pearl with a little bit of Violet Chachki thrown in there. Eventually, he did start getting into the drugs that he was around.
It was a great party until drugs.
Drugs have become like drink tickets. You give out a bump or two instead of a drink ticket. They would rather have a bump than a drink ticket. You had to pay them to show up, $100. Then you had to pay them to show up and give them drinks. Then you had to pay them to show up, give them drinks and a dinner. Then you had to pay them to show up, give them drinks, a dinner, and buy them drugs. They came in expecting a vial of Coke and a vial of K.
He once did drugs for so long that he forgot about his beloved cat, and it starved to death. And Michael seemed to have a reoccurring thing for maybe underage boys. If the earlier film clip is to be believed, it is possible that Michael's history of being a victim in an inappropriate relationship could lead him to seek out these kind of similar relationship dynamics. But I'm not here to psychoanalyze Michael. I do not have the credentials to do so. One of Michael's favorite greetings was to say, "Open your mouth," whereupon Michael would pop a hit of ecstasy into your gaping gob. There's a lot of interlude of drug tales in this story, and it's kind of, you hear one drug tale, you've heard them all. Someone gets wildly fucked up, and they're wildly fucked up. I really don't want to be sidetracked by all of these stories, despite it being a large amount of the book's content, because it distracts from Angel, the real center of this case. But there are some seriously fucked up tales about Michael.
Michael had hepatitis, and he just decided to go around and
drink out of people's drinks, try to French kiss. He was trying to French kiss everybody. He was trying to French kiss me. I'm like...
And then everybody in the club scene thought that they had hepatitis. I myself went to get a hepatitis shot. So never one to pass up an opportunity to turn like something horrible into an amusing prank. He devised this wheel of hepatitis.
Which isn't really funny because hepatitis is pretty serious. But, you know, I mean, that was Michael.
And stupid me, you know, I guess when I have my wig on, I'm just extra dumb blonde. He handed me a Gatorade bottle, and I said, "Oh, thank you," and then picked it up and took a big swig. And he and his friends all laughed at me, and it was right then that I knew, you know, oh my God, what is in this bottle? And it was pee. It was his pee.
He was on the balcony at Limelight, and he peed on one of the new bartenders over the balcony, and this girl just has a shower of pee on her and looks up and just is wrecked. I mean, she's so wrecked. Goes into Peter's office, just breaks down, can't believe that Michael peed on her, and she got fired. She got fired, and Michael just got whatever he wanted.
Of course, he was always peeing on people, but because he was so charming, he pulled it off, you know, and you would always end up saying, "Oh, that Michael," and, you know, you were wiping the blood off of you or whatever.
I just want to say that urinating on people, making a habit of doing so, is an extreme violation. It is legally classified as an assault. It's also incredibly degrading, a clear way of saying that you have absolutely no respect for somebody. This gives you a picture of where Michael was at mentally at this point.
Michael had always been obsessed with death. He was always obsessed with gore.
I think he always had a dark side. There were definitely some dark theme parties at Limelight.
This was a turning point in the club scene.
He had like a blood feast party at Limelight, which dabbled almost as a foreshadowing in severed body parts and blood and body fluids, and it seemed like he was almost fantasizing about wanting to dismember a body.
Somewhere deep inside his head, he was thinking, what would it be like to be a murderer?
The book itself is, in a word, sensationalized. The back cover tagline of my copy is, "Murder was never so much fun." It begins with an author's foreword, which is more or less a recipe or endorsement of home-baked ketamine or Special K. Very Hunter S. Thompson style.
Used in cats and subhuman primates only.
Grab ketamine and just first you break into your roommate's room, rifle through all his belongings, find about a cake, and then I'm gonna pop this in the oven for James. Go away, Michael, go away, go away.
Look what you just did.
I didn't just do anything, please.
Here's your goddamn cake.
Then we jump to March 31st, 1996, when Michael first described killing Angel to James after James arrived at his apartment after a wild K-hole night.
We were at his house, and he chopped up the lines and got me real high and then told me the whole story from beginning to end.
James, we have to talk. Do you notice anything different? Anyone missing? Missing? From this room? I don't get it. No. Just missing in general. Drug dealer you haven't seen in a while? Freeze? No. Another drug dealer. Used to stay here. Freeze stays here. The other drug dealer who stays with me. I hate when you do Special K. Angel. James Angel. Haven't you noticed that Angel hasn't been around? All right, real quick. Freeze, Robert Riggs, known as Freeze, is a drug dealer. Not much else is said about him, TBH. But it's clear he's on Michael's good side.
Freeze, ladies and gentlemen. What would be the first thing you would do as reigning king? Give Michael a raise. Give Michael a raise. Thank you, darling. Give Michael a raise so he can buy us more drugs, right?
Back to confession. No, Michael, I haven't seen Angel recently. I don't care enough about him to keep track of where he is. In fact, you really ought to get rid of him. He makes you look bad. He's so nasty, and those wings are so damn annoying. Oh, well, you'll be happy to hear I did just that. I got rid of him, all right. Yep, I got rid of him, boy, once and for all. Skrink, la da do, I killed him. He gets into it. He's wearing Angel's boots that he stole from his corpse as he's telling James the whole story. James describes himself as being frozen in an adorable Macaulay Culkin-esque pose with my mouth wide open throughout. Funny, as Macaulay Culkin played Michael. Seth Green was James. It's like a car accident that happens too quickly. You can't stop it. You can't think about it. You just have to lean back because everything changes forever. It's already happened. You have no choice. Play it out. James admits he was rather unprepared for a conversation of this caliber. To be fair, he was on a lot of drugs. Something I want to note, it's clear from the start that Angel was not in with this friend group despite being in with them, if you know what I mean.
Angel. Didn't like Angel very much.
I didn't really care for Angel too much. You know, I avoided him as much as possible, especially if I owed him money.
He wasn't quite accepted on the level of Michael's complete inner circle.
He was a poser. He was basically a poser.
Michael's follower, you know. As much as he tried to pretend, again, it was the illusion of the drugs.
As far as I understand it, that was the core of the conflict.
Like, Angel always had this paranoia that people were making fun of him, or that people secretly didn't like him, or that we were all laughing about him behind his back.
Michael went to me and he's like, God, Astro, I just wish he was dead.
The last thing I ever said to Angel was, "What are you doing there? I can't believe you are still there. You are such an idiot. Move away, get out of that apartment, Angel. What are you doing?" And that was the last time I ever spoke to him.
James describes him outright as strutting around the clubs like he was God's own cousin, sporting a ridiculous pair of wings. Yes, wings. Dingy old white wings that were always knocking off my wig or spilling my drink. Oh, he was such a nightmare. And I truly just feel like James described himself, just somebody else. Like, he was totally that person knocking off somebody else's wig or spilling somebody else's drink. Angel is just their bitch eating crackers from the start. James also describes him as the most important yet least interesting character of all, and goes as far as to ask, if a person commits a crime and no one cares, can we all just adjust our lip liner? And suggests that nobody implicated Dorothy in the double witch homicides in Oz because they liked her. 2 days before the murder, Angel finally stood up to Michael. A first. He had previously chosen not to say anything to Michael because Michael, king of the club kids, was his idol. One club kid remembers that 2 days before Angel disappeared, Michael was in the middle of a coke binge when he started telling friends, jokingly perhaps, "I want to kill Angel. I want to kill Angel." The night before the murder, Michael recalls instructing bouncers at Limelight to turn away Angel from the door because he owed Angel money. Several nights' wages worth that was kept in the club safe. Media reports from the time say it was about $2,000 the day of.
It was a Sunday morning, and we had been up, you know, probably since Thursday night. The concierge called up and said that that Angel was downstairs and should he come up. It's not the time to be showing up at Peter's house with a drug dealer or high on drugs looking for money at 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning. You know, I said, come in and take a nap and we'll go to the club that afternoon and get your money.
There's finally a confrontation. Angel pushes Michael up against the wall. Freeze walks in with, or maybe without, this guy Daniel. Who is Daniel? Who is Daniel? Daniel may have been asleep in the room next door, something that changes with retellings of what actually happened. He's a potential witness. It's all a bit of a blur, right? Michael recalls Freeze yelling to Angel, "We only let you hang out with us because you have drugs."
And Freeze said something to him like,
"This is why nobody ever likes you. If you weren't a drug pusher, you wouldn't have any friends."
That was, you know, Freeze was probably a little bit right, you know? I think that's why it probably affected Angel so much, because I think he subconsciously knew this. Some argument broke out between them about the argument between us, about the argument over the money. Angel was asking me something like, "Are you gonna let him talk to me like that, or is that true," or something to that effect.
And he grabbed Michael by the throat.
We went flying through my china cabinet, which had a big glass front on it, and this big piece of glass went into my back, and blood was spurting all over the place.
Freeze used a hammer to hit Angel over the head, incapacitating him but not killing him. Then Michael, his fist wrapped in a sweatshirt, pummels the unconscious Angel over and over and over again.
I remember taking a sweatshirt and wrapping it around my hand because I was smashing in his face and like trying to push him off, and he was biting my hand, biting my chest, and Freeze was trying to pull him back, and I was trying to push him off, and he just reached around for whatever he could grab.
Grabbed a hammer, clubbed Angel
2 or 3 times, and he finally did stop biting me, and he fell back, and at this point, me and Daniel were all on top of him on his stomach.
Which action truly killed Angel is different in each source that I read.
We had no way of thinking that there's nothing in our frame of mind that he was dead. I mean, it wasn't even something that we were thinking could have been. I mean, we were just unconscious.
They realized that they are bound to this crime and start to think about how to cover it up. They thought about staging a heroin overdose, but then they decided to do the heroin instead of wasting it on Angel's corpse. At this point, they may or may not have injected Angel with Drano. This is probably the most salacious and repeated part of this crime, but it may have been part of Michael's "the fish was this big" storytelling. He would later claim that this didn't happen.
There's a story that came out that said you injected his body with Drano. Is that true or false?
That was false.
They're in this luxury apartment paid for by Michael's boss, club impresario Peter Gation. They call Peter, who was with his girlfriend, Alexandra, who was like, "Ugh, leave us alone," click. The pair then lifted Angel's lifeless corpse and put him into the bathtub.
Well, why didn't you call a lawyer? You know, but it's just that first of all, Angel had probably 50 half-gram vials of Special K, and almost 2 ounces of cocaine, and Rohypnol, and all kinds of drugs on him that we just started using.
To avoid him leaking bodily fluids all over the place as corpses do. Not to get too grotesque over here, but I'm sorry, we're already there.
We'd done everything we could think of to revive him, short of putting him underwater, which is what we did. And when he didn't gasp for air, it took us a moment to realize what exactly that meant. We were afraid of police coming over and questioning our drug use and are you drug addicts, and everything being kind of exposed to the real world and perhaps everything coming to a halt.
They doused him in Drano, baking soda, and a few spritzes of Calvin Klein Eternity. Like, that should do it, right?
Freeze was spraying Calvin Klein Eternity, which was very, we didn't see the symbolism in that until much later.
They take a break, invite some friends over. They block off the bathroom by pushing up a mattress against it. True crack house energy. None of the partygoers notice.
I remember Michael said, "Oh, that smell, that's plumbing," or something like that. And I never even thought about it. Okay, let's do another line.
Suddenly, 8 or 9 days had passed. Oops.
What are we gonna do? Are you gonna go back to the apartment? And he said he didn't want to go back. And I said, well, I don't want to go back either, but what are we gonna do? You have to come back. And I said, maybe he won't even be there. When we walked in the apartment, everything seemed like completely normal, like didn't look like any fight had gone on or anything. I mean, the china cabinet was broken, and there was glass and a little bit of blood on the couch. I mean, I knew that he was going to be there, but like I was really hoping that he wouldn't be, and he was, you know. So.
Angel is at this time a much larger and much smellier problem.
We are going to be caught with a dead body in our house, and not only a dead body, but a dead body that had been in our house for, you know, what, 8, 9, 10 days. We'll never be able to explain that.
Freeze is like, this is your problem. And Michael is like, excuse me, no, this is our problem. They argue, and Michael agrees to chop off his legs so that he'll fit into a box. If Freeze will go to Macy's to get the cutlery required and enough heroin for Michael to black himself out while doing it.
We couldn't move the arms or legs or anything, and there was no way of fitting the body into this box. Freeze did go out and went to Macy's and bought some large kitchen knives.
Michael chops up Angel's body and puts him into the box.
We both just like went like this kind of thing and just like, you know, cut very quickly. I cut so fast just to get it over with.
A cab driver helps them throw the box containing Angel into the Hudson River.
We went to tunnel for some strange reason and just stopped right in front of tunnel and asked the cab driver to help us take the box out of the trunk, which he did. And then we asked him to help us lift it and walk across the West Side Highway to the river and to throw it in the river. And he asked us why we were doing that and what was in the box. And we told him that it was dishes and things that we didn't want, and he didn't say anything about it. The box did not sink like we had imagined it would from seeing movies that floated down the river.
Because they forgot the crucial thing. He's supposed to puncture a hole in the box so it'll sink.
Freeze wanted to jump in the river after it, and we gave him a $20 tip. And he drove us back to our building, which again was just outrageously idiotic because, I mean, you know, the cab driver would have known exactly where we lived. Just a bunch of bad decisions, one bad decision after another. And we went back to the apartment.
James admits that upon hearing this, he knew that his club kid days were soon to be over. It was the end of an era. His era, everything that they had created together. They had these wild, legendary parties, and now it's connected to this. James does some more heroin about it because he just cannot deal with this information. Does this change your opinion of me? Do you love me any less? Of course I love you, darling. It's just that while you're Michael Alig, I've always known that you were capable of really big things, monumental, historical things. Oh, that is so sweet. And you're James St. James, don't you forget. I know, dear. My point was, why waste your big chance at immortality on Angel? He was so inconsequential, he wasn't worth it. Michael claimed that he was less terrified of getting caught than he was going to hell. And that's why he confessed his crimes to, well, everyone. And after James did a lot of K about it, he started blabbing to everyone too. Mostly out of guilt and wanting to do something, but not being sure about what to do. I mean, what do you do? For a while, there was no body and no investigation. Gossip about what Michael had done ravaged the clubs.
And then I remember at the time, he had this huge cut on the back of his neck.
It was like a 2-inch thick, I mean, just deep gash. Like it looks like somebody just took a, you know, like a big piece of glass, just gouged him with it and jerked down like that, you know? And I said, what in the hell, what happened?
He had just gone from blonde to red. You know, when you dye your hair red with panic dye, it stains your hands, you know?
I remember being at Michael's and like setting a cocktail down on this box, and Michael was wearing Angel's boots, right, like I am with my legs crossed, and sitting in front of me and wearing Angel's boots saying, Astro, who's missing? who's missing, Astro? And I was like, I don't know, Michael, but what is that stench in this house? And the box that my cocktail was sitting on was Angel's body.
We were joking about Clara the chicken, and I said, oh, I wonder whatever happened to that costume. And then Michael said to me, oh, I cut it into pieces and threw it in the river.
You know, I asked Michael when he did it, I said, how could you chop his legs off? How could you cut his legs off? And he told me, oh, I just did 17 bags of heroin, and then it was like I was in a Foghorn Leghorn cartoon.
It was right about here that Michael Alig told me he killed Angel. He asked me if he could borrow my car. I said, what do you want to borrow my car for? And he said, I just murdered Angel and he needed my car to get rid of the body. I told him to get the fuck away from me, and he scampered off.
One of the club kids told me, oh yeah, but there's also the thing that he killed somebody. And then he added, don't tell Michael I told you, which to me showed the really sad hold that Michael had over these kids. Even after killing someone, the kids wanted to stay in his good favor. Michael once came up to me on the street before his conviction and was promoting some party, and I was like, ew. And he's like, you don't think I killed Angel, do you? And it was said in a very eerie, taunting way. And I thought, yeah, I do think you did.
I remember the first sign that I got that something was really weird was I actually called Angel to buy drugs from him. And Michael called back on his phone.
James is later contacted by Johnny Melendez, Angel's brother, who is out looking for his brother. James puts him in contact with Frank Owens at the Village Voice so they can talk to each other and exchange stories.
You know when I started to believe it was true? Was when I met Angel's family.
You know, we started to think, all right, this is serious. His brother is really concerned and really does not think that this is good.
So they were crying, and I was thinking, you know what? There's no way Angel is going to take part in this scam, in this prank, and put his family through this.
Michael planned to travel to DJ Keoki's home in Colorado and then go off to Germany, leave America and his life of crime behind to go and make obscure European art films. But then, the papers. To me, the craziest part of this whole story is how the papers knew exactly what had happened before the police had started any investigation.
Articles in the Village Voice started happening.
I went with the blind item as a lead item because by this point the chatter had grown really loud and someone told me it's really true.
Michael Musto posted a blind item in his Village Voice column, La Dolce Musto, in April 1996, quoting a clubby. There are also rumors about the disappearance of someone close to Alig, who did what and saw what, who's delusional and who isn't. I'm only doing this because I'm drunk.
So I ran, here's exactly what people think happened. And I put the details of the Drano, the pillow, the chopping the body, the throwing it into the Hudson. That was then picked up by Page 6, which is the big column in the New York Post. And that's when it blew up as a story.
Investigations were finally prompted by headlines by Village Voice investigative reporter Frank Owens, who blew the case open with his Murder in Clubland, which published in June 1996.
Looking for Angel in the Village Voice. That was the story that really broke the case wide open.
Direct quotes. Several confidential sources, only one whom would speak on the record, claim that former Limelight promoter Michael Alig, his press denials notwithstanding, he did indeed kill his sometimes roommate Angel earlier this year. They say that Alig made the stunning confession to a number of people, among them former New York club czar Rudolph, Chicago house diva Screaming Rachel, Calvin Klein model Jenny Talia, Limelight lighting director Arthur Weinstein, and Alessandra Kobayashi, Limelight owner Peter Gatchian's business partner and common law wife. Angel did not go quietly into the night, says one source. According to Michael, the apartment was covered in blood. According to anonymous sources, Alig left Angel's body in the bathroom for over a week while deciding what to do with the corpse. It's Baroque details like this that might lead one to wonder if the whole thing is a hoax. Over the next few days, Alig phoned acquaintances, telling them that he had a dead body in his apartment and asking them how to get rid of it. One visitor to Alig's abode, who spoke anonymously, described a putrid smell that made you gag. The same person noticed that the bathroom had been barricaded shut. While Michael boasted about it, Johnny, Angel's brother, was pasting posters up around Manhattan offering a $4,000 reward, desperately seeking any information about his brother's whereabouts.
The last time I dropped him off is when I saw him in February. I knew he wasn't around, so I beeped him. My aunts beeped him. He didn't answer. I made up flyers, black and white flyers, with a $4,000 reward if anybody seen him. So I started showing people, do you know this guy? Oh yeah, I know him. I seen him in Limelight. I seen him hang down here. I seen him in Christopher Street. I seen him by the Bay. So, they told me, oh yeah, I know him. Do you know where he is? No, we don't know. Nobody wanted to say anything. It's like they don't give a damn about my brother. Like they just killed a mosquito or something, a roach or something. Probably wearing his wings right now. His real wings.
And trying in vain to get the police to open a case.
I went to the police to fill a missing persons report. They didn't pay no attention. They didn't even want to make a missing persons report. So right there, I was like in zero. I didn't have nobody investigating. So I started investigating myself. I spoke to Michael Alig. He didn't want to face me. He was like talking and like facing this way and that way and looking, and he didn't want to look at me at my eyes, because me and my brother, we look alike a lot. So right there I said, nah, this guy's guilty. He's not saying the truth.
I'm an easy target because I was with him the day before he was gone. And that I know that I have my own ideas. He was a copycat. He was one of those copycats that we hate, and so we killed him. I killed Angel, and that's the kind of thing that gets me in trouble.
Brother trusted these people so much. He trusted them so much. What am I gonna miss most of him? A lot of things, small things. I just gonna miss.
When he learned of Angel's disappearance, he contacted Detective Michael Reedy at the 10th Precinct. Reedy said that he couldn't open an investigation without more concrete evidence. When contacted by The Voice for their articles, Detective Reedy said, "I have no idea what you're talking about," and claimed to have never heard of Angel Melendez. Did Johnny Melendez contact him? He could have, came the reply. According to several Limelight regulars, after the disappearance of Angel, Michael's always prodigious drug intake increased dramatically. He was smoking crack and injecting heroin daily.
I was every single day, I was on cocaine and heroin and Ropanol and ketamine and the occasional crack and ecstasy.
Due to the press coverage, Michael was finally arrested in December 1996.
Everyone knew something. This story got spread out so far that we could not make a connection that Michael Alig told one person. They always heard it from someone else or heard it from someone else. And that's what took a lot of time, because we had to find that evidence, that who Michael actually told this to. And we no longer had suspicion. We had probable cause that he did it. And we felt we had enough at that point to make the arrest. And when we entered the hotel room, Michael was stoned. He barely knew what was going on. He practically had to stand him up.
In the time after, Village Voice reported Michael stole an additional $18,000 from the drug dealer's stash. which he used to furnish his luxury apartment. Marble bust, red velvet sofa with the golden claws, new chandelier, new TV, VCR, computer,
a new couch, two new chairs to go with the couch, like an old antique couch with, gold with lions on it, with velvet, with red velvet, and a brand new television, one that I got later. And I said, "Oh my God, where did you get all this stuff?" I was like, "Shut up."
And then the New York Police Department realizes that they had had Angel nearly the entire time that he had been missing. He was just unidentified the entire time, likely due to this whole police not filing reports about Angel thing. They had him in April, a month after his death, and he was unidentified until December.
Most of us felt that this was an unsolvable case, that this was going to be a cold case. Because if you think of the possibilities of where this body could have come from.
The police read the newspapers and acted like they figured out the whole thing.
I told everybody in my office that I've got it, this is it.
Once those dental records matched Angel Melendez, we knew we had the right body. So it's Tommy reading the paper.
The police called in Freeze, who broke down immediately and gave a complete written statement.
And he told me everything. He says, "I'm glad it's over. I'm glad you guys got me. I can't live with this anymore."
We would have never been able to live with ourselves at all. And it was a relief, in fact, when we were arrested.
And that confession letter is very accurate. And you can also see my signatures on the bottom of it.
On a Sunday in March of 1996, I was at home in my bedroom with a friend. This is Freeze's only mention of Daniel. In the other bedroom, Michael Alig and Angel Melendez were loudly arguing. I, at one point, heard a little crash, like glass breaking. Then I heard the argument progressing and getting louder. I opened my door to the room and started towards the other bedroom. I stopped just outside the bedroom door, at which point Michael was yelling, "Help me! Get him off of me!" Angel briefly turned and said, "Stay out." Then he grabbed Michael either by the shoulder or around the neck and started shaking him violently and banging him against the wall. He was yelling, "You better get my money or I'll break your neck," or something to that effect. I remember Michael looked right at me with a sort of pleading look in his eyes. I grabbed the hammer, which was in the closet, directly to my left. I stepped forward and hit Angel over the head, trying to get him off of Michael and maybe knock him unconscious. I was in a panic and very concerned at the level of anger Angel was displaying. After the first blow, he turned and grabbed for the hammer. He might have gotten his hands on it, I'm not sure, but I snatched it back and hit him in the head again. He started to go down, but he was still pissed off. He started going for Michael again, so I hit him a third time and he went down. At this point, Michael got onto his chest and was strangling him with his hands. I yelled, "What are you doing?" Michael seemed to be very angry at this point and was cursing at Angel. He then took a pillow and put it over Angel's face. I made him stop by either telling him to stop or pushing him off Angel. I then walked into the living room and possibly to the bedroom. When I returned, Michael was beside the body again. I noticed a broken syringe on the floor by the body, and Michael was pouring something from the bathroom, some cleaner or chemical, into Angel's mouth. I again screamed, "What are you doing? What is your problem? He's out." He then started wrapping tape around his mouth. He asked for the duct tape from the closet and said, "You have to help me." So I helped him finish wrapping the tape around Angel's mouth. Then I left the room. When I came back, Angel was undressed down to his underwear, a pair of white Fruit of the Loom type underwear. Michael said, "Help me put him into the tub," so we carried him into the tub and closed the bathroom door. About 5 to 7 days later, Michael and I decided we had to do something about this terrible mess. it was decided that I would go get knives or something to help dispose of the body. I went to Macy's and bought 3 large knives, 2 kitchen knives and 1 cleaver. When I got back, Michael told me if I gave him 10 bags of heroin, he would take care of this part. So I did, and he went back into the bathroom alone and cut off both of Angel's legs. Then we put each leg into plastic bags, then a duffel bag, and separately carried them, one at a time, to the river and threw them in. Probably about the next day, I went to the storage area and got a large box. I cut the UPC code off the box. I brought it up to the apartment. Michael put the remainder of the body into a large plastic garbage bag. I got another bag and put it over the first one. I think before Michael put in the first bag, he wrapped it in a sheet. After the second bag, I think I taped it closed. The smell was so unbearable that I put baking soda in to absorb, hopefully, some of the odor. I also stuck a broom handle into the box for support because the sheer weight was making the box collapse. A few hours later, we took the box into the elevator and out through the main lobby into a yellow cab that happened to be right outside the door. The driver helped to tie the trunk down, and we took the body to the West Side Highway around 25th Street. The taxi drove off, and we threw the body into the river. This statement was written by me, Robert Riggs, of my own free will. My Miranda rights were also read to me at this location, blah, blah, blah. So it's different from Michael's. Was the Drano injected or ingested? Freeze also cleverly puts himself into the living room and then the bedroom, coming back when Michael's there with the broken syringe. So Freeze doesn't know anything about the Drano situation. Michael never mentioned the pillow incident. He mentioned a sweatshirt. And where is Daniel in all this? Who's Daniel? Who's Daniel? Who's Daniel? The truth lies somewhere beyond all of the stories about that night, but the prosecutors didn't go that hard into finding all the sordid details.
I never even went to the arraignment. That's how fast Michael, Alig, and Riggs were put in jail.
So the DEA was closing in on Peter Gation's clubs, and Michael exchanged testimony on the drug happenings for a lighter sentence.
The DA's behavior in this whole, they knew damn well what Michael had done, and they protected him. You know, they protected him. And as long as there was no body, they would have protected, because he was scheduled to be the chief witness against Gation.
All they cared about was that they got Michael to testify against Gation.
Which sort of forced our hand on a plea, and that's what ultimately led to a plea in the case.
Daniel, who? Daniel? Daniel spoke up too late for his part to really matter.
But there was another person in the apartment that weekend, and the other person told the district attorney that Freeze and Alig robbed Angel, which made it a murder during the commission of a robbery, which all of a sudden, under New York state law, made Alig eligible for the death penalty.
After that, I was so disgusted that I just did my job and went on to the next case.
I was frankly happy to get the plea offer that we did get, which I thought was 10 to 20 concurrent with any federal sentence, was, in my view, when you're talking about a possible death penalty eligibility, was a damn good deal. He agreed that that was clearly what he wanted to do, and he jumped at it, and Freeze jumped at it as well.
Both Michael and Freeze pled guilty to manslaughter.
After that, we became pen pals in a way, but then he tried to manipulate me to write a letter of recommendation to shorten his sentence, and I felt a little bit used, just like he used to manipulate me before the murder.
I heard of Michael Alig when I saw the movie Party Monster. I would send the pictures of the kitties, things like that. I figured anything to brighten up that gray place there would help.
He wrote to me from jail a couple times, and I just never answered him back.
In the first few years, Michael was in jail sending postcards out with bloody axes on it. I didn't want anything to know about it. But as time went on, and Michael wrote me letters saying that he felt bad, he showed true remorse, I started to write him back as Michael accepted what he had done and understood the path that he had to go down to be my friend. We became friends again. The man who went inside didn't give a damn what anybody thought of him. The guy who's walking out cares what everyone thinks about him.
The few friends that have disappeared, am I disappointed? Of course I am, but I also understand why they would disappear.
An interesting note.
And if you think about it, it seems that he was the victim and Melendez was the aggressor.
The circumstance, the violence that occurred that led up to Angel's death could have been washed away with a phone call to the police. I have a man on the floor, he's been hurt, Freeze hit him with a hammer. It was a legitimate self-defense argument.
I guess Riggs would have went to jail for assault. Michael was still a victim at that point.
But that went out the drain when they walked out the room, when they smothered him with a pillow.
It's true, up until the point where Michael went in with the sweatshirt or pillow or whatever exactly happened after Freeze came in with the hammer, that would be considered self-defense. If Michael and Freeze hadn't been on a literal 4-day partying spree, they may have been coherent enough to see that. Sure, Freeze may still have to do some time, but the consequences would have been lighter, and Michael would have remained a free man. The two of them truly made the worst possible decisions in this scenario. Freeze was released from prison in March 2010 and released early from probation in May 2013. He has immersed himself in his studies and as of 2017 was working on a PhD in sociology at New York University. He has written papers on prisoner re-entry into society, social policy, drug law reforms in New York, the U.S. war on drugs in Latino communities, and street-based sex work in the USA. It's all really great work. He has distanced himself from the club scene and turned down requests for interviews. I hope he's doing good. It sounds like he's like the best possible rehabilitation is to go into sociology work and specifically into social policies that you've experienced firsthand. I don't know Freeze, but I'm like proud of him. Good for him. I didn't stalk his LinkedIn to see what's going on with him now. Michael's time in prison took a little bit longer because of drug problems.
He's a drug addict.
That means Alec didn't behave himself, and he wound up doing 17. Riggs has been out a long time.
How much longer is he going to be in there pulling stunts? I'm sure he made the most of it.
The dreams I have now are of us hanging out with Angel times before we killed him and before, you know, the drugs and everything, the good times. In the beginning, the dreams were repeating the crime over and over, and I think as I've learned to forgive myself, I haven't completely forgiven myself yet, but the closer I get to forgiving myself, the better the dreams get. I took a life, and he is not around, and I'm going home, and I will have a chance to restart my life, and Angel won't.
Michael was released from prison after 17 years. He met up with friends, including James.
It's been 17 years since the last time I saw him. It's a little strange.
Alig was scooped up from a mid-state correctional facility in a 15-person party van filled with drunk revelers. One joked, "We were going to bring a Fisher-Price plastic hammer."
An open letter to me from James St. James on the World of Wonder blog, I guess. Technology develops at light speed now. You don't want to get left behind. You need a smartphone, a computer, a DVR, and a tablet. There are no two ways around this. Things we don't need anymore. Phone books, dictionaries, maps, and encyclopedias. They're all in your phone. It's crazy. It's very sad. The scene has changed. Clubs aren't the subversive pleasure palaces of yore. Now it's just 1,000 shrieking girls taking selfies and dancing to Wake Me Up by Avicii. I was really intimidated by New York back then, and I'm intimidated by it again because it's different now. It's more intimidating. Oh, the new World Trade Center. Yeah. There's only one of them.
That initial like, oh my God, you're old, I'm fat, like, we were different people the last time we saw each other, so. That was just, it was like once you get past his haircut.
Remember, James St. James never visited Michael in jail. We did. We drove 6 hours there and 6 hours back and talked to him and really tried to get his life in order and spent a lot of energy and time teaching him about the world that he was going to enter in, what he had to be. And immediately he gets out and they make it a circus. And what happened was World of Wonder came in with James St. James as their representative, and they started to make Michael look like a fool. In my opinion, they were manipulating him. I told Michael what was happening because Michael didn't know. He was just out. He was elated and prancing and having a great time. He was out.
James and I actually had this conversation today on the way to the parole office. Well, when the cameras were off, of course. He said, you know, I'm going to have to be the devil's advocate. I'm going to have to bring the devil out of you. He said, and it's your job to fight that.
Oh, James. Where RuPaul and Larry and Mahoma and Lady Bunny lived. I think it's that building there.
I'll show you where it is.
I watch all of your makeover stuff.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Don't you watch all of my makeover stuff?
I should be,
Oh, you should be, yes. If it wasn't for me, he wouldn't be anybody.
Welcome back, kiddo.
Yep, thank you.
Stay on the straight.
Thank you.
That's nice.
Finally.
Yep, 17 long years.
Michael joined Grindr. He joined Twitter and shared paintings that he had made in prison.
There's the extreme negative comments, which I knew was going to happen, you know, that people saying they think Michael should be dead or that he should overdose and die, that he shouldn't be out of prison. But then there's also the extreme positive comments of people writing on his Twitter and on blogs saying, you know, that he's their idol and that they want to go partying with him and stuff like that. And I think that's equally as screwed up.
He was interviewed by
People, Vanity Fair, the New York Post, the New York Times, Inside Edition, well, of course, the Daily Beast, Huffington Post is Monday, and Rolling Stone is Monday. I mean, not one negative thing in there. And the Inside Edition thing is 100% positive, too. We were hoping that we would go to bed and wake up the next day and that it had been a dream. I mean, we were that scared, and it's hard to put yourself in this situation where you've done something like this that's so horrific that really the whole universe has changed. And like that.
If I was Angel's family, what would you say to them?
I think the best thing to say, and it's true and it's heartfelt actually, is that if they wanted to contact me, I would be very open to anything they would want to contact me about, because this isn't really about me, it's about them now. It's a whole new way of looking at things and dealing with the world, interacting with the world, putting other people first. If that would be something that would make them happy, I would be willing to do anything they want me to do, you know? I didn't want to give the wrong impression that, like, you know, you can commit a horrible crime and because of that you'll be on the cover of the New York Post and you'll be in People magazine and Vanity Fair and documentaries and whatever. I don't think I'll feel completely free until all of this is over, you know, and I can just like wake up one morning and not have to go do like, an interview or like, have a film crew following me around. Then I think I'll feel free. I'm going to carry it with me for the rest of my life. Now, to what degree, I don't know. Maybe it will lessen in severity.
He penned a piece for the New York Post, which ended with him saying, "I've been given a second chance. I'm glad I survived." In the piece, he characterizes the murder as a silly, pushy catfight that started when Riggs poked fun at Melendez's captain hat. In his New York Times interview, Michael was asked if he thought of himself as a murderer. He replied, "No. I think of myself as a drug addict who made some really, really, really poor choices, like the worst choices ever. But I wouldn't say I'm a murderer because we didn't wake up that day and say, let's go kill Angel." He laughed at that. I mean, the distinction, it's very slight, but in another way, it's like night and day. I'd like to draw attention to a few clips of James St. James meeting Michael after his release from prison, taken at their return to the site where Angel's body was dumped.
And what did you tell the cab driver? Why did you tell him you were doing it?
We didn't tell him anything.
You said, will you help us throw this box into the water?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, okay.
Mm-hmm. He said he wanted $20.
Did you think it would go back? Did you think you were going to get caught?
We felt guilty just lying to everybody. You and Jenny and everybody that knew Angel. I mean, like, we could not go out with you every night and say, oh, we don't know where he is,
It's funny, I remember the night that you told Jenny at Limelight and she ran out crying. Remember that?
It was too much for me, so I'm going to tell everybody else, and now it's
all
everybody's
our problem too.
Right, and none of you had anything to do with this, so it was extremely selfish. But I mean, that's kind of like that junkie mentality of like drag everyone.
If I'm
going down, you're all coming down with me. But I mean, I'm not blaming the drugs. I mean, it was my decision to use the drugs initially. But I mean, the symptoms of drug addiction almost mirror exactly the symptoms of being a sociopath. I mean, it's like the selfishness, the narcissism.
How are you going to change? How are you going to be better?
I think it's sort of like a work in progress. I don't think I could ever say that, oh, I'm changed, I'm different, I'm better now. I don't think I will ever be better now. I don't think anybody that was involved in this will ever be better now. I think, there is a getting better. There's a going in the direction of getting better, hopefully. But I don't think there's ever, it's over now, I'm done. I don't think it'll ever be that way. What a nice place to dump a disposable body.
Oh, a great spot. We should come back every year.
We should throw another body. We should throw a body over here.
Lovely spot for body throwing. A little body tossing.
Think that's Angel?
James tries to explain that away in that they were wrapped up in catching up and they joke like that to get rid of the pain, but I still felt super uncomfortable watching it and knowing where they were. The Village Voice also has not forgotten about Angel. In 2014, Tessa Stewart published the scathing article, "Let's Not Forget Michael Alig brutally murdered and dismembered Angel Melendez, then bragged about it for months." As most of the content on this subject focuses on the admittedly exciting and salacious Michael and the club kids side, which Angel was an outcast from, his role in this story is often, as I said earlier, a footnote. I wish peace to Angel's family. In the craze of 2020, Michael Alig's death slipped under the radar. He died on December 25th, 2020, Christmas Day, of a heroin overdose. I personally think it was very Michael to sashay away on a big holiday, perhaps the biggest of them. Angel had also died on a holiday, but a much smaller one, St. Patrick's Day. Michael would not be outdone. James kept his feelings on the matter private and responded with this tweet, logging off. "I think I'll just be alone with my thoughts for the next couple of days. I don't want my intentions on this video to be misread. The LGBTQIA+ community is not evil. They are not murderers or druggies. There are bad seeds within every demographic. These folks are outliers, and we only end up telling these tales because they're the interesting ones. But in ignoring the darkness within the community, we allow it to fester. I'd rather acknowledge, learn, and do better." The most interesting facet of this case is that I think both Michael and Angel had elements of victim and aggressor. It's possible for both things to be true, especially if Angel had attacked Michael. They were both total outsiders in the world, looking to have a good time and skirting the lines of legality. I wish that Angel hadn't been seen as some kind of other by the others that had prided themselves on being so open and welcoming. And I think that there are still some effects of that to this day. A murder is kind of a party pooper, and it pooped on the club kids' party for sure. Many documentaries on this topic wrap up by describing many subjects having overdosed, having had troubles with the law, or having troubles with addiction. But there are also incredibly successful club kids. Emmy winner RuPaul Charles, James St. James, Amanda Lepore, Walt Cassidy, Suzanne Barsh. You may have also caught the Emmy of Patricia Field, iconic costume designer for Sex and the City and Emily in Paris. I love the club kids scene, that sort of renaissance of creativity. I wish I could have experienced it. I think the closest I've come in this lifetime thus far is going to drag shows with Ru girls, but everything that happens there is totally legal.
The club scene today is adult, it's clean. At least no one's getting murdered, but you know what? It's boring.
Have fun. Express yourself. Party as much as you'd like, but stay off the drugs, kids.
Just keep it clean, ladies and gentlemen, that's it.
And don't murder someone just because you don't like them that much. Comment, like, subscribe. Peace.
I have a feeling that he's going to be more caught up in, oh, I never would have said that, or, I never wore that outfit to that party.
That never happened. I was expecting not to like it. And everybody told me that I wouldn't like it. They all said that Macaulay didn't do a very good job and that the acting was really terrible. And in the beginning, when the movie first started, I was like, this looks like, like a Lifetime movie. Like the acting is really terrible.
This is what everyone's perception of you is. 95% of people who have heard of Michael Alig know Michael Alig from this.
Why do you think I'm feeling vaguely suicidal? Now I know why Keoki walked out of this movie. And Macaulay's like this accent, this like weird British accent, and he's like, I'm going to watch the movie now. I was thinking like, am I gonna have to start imitating Macaulay, imitating me in order for people to believe that it's really me? Because it's like, that's not how I am at all. But James said that his character would grow on me by the end of the movie, and you know what, it did.
Very Pirates of the Caribbean.
James and I never did the Two of Hearts dance, I'll tell you that right now. I'd give it a B.
The art of working a room. Upon making your grand entrance, take your partner by the hand and circle around the room. Smile and say hello to everyone in the room, even if you don't know them, especially if you don't know them. Hi!
Hi!
Hi! Oh, I'm so glad you came.
I know you.
He's fabulous. Go once around the room in opposite directions. You go clockwise to my anti-clockwise. Tell all the people how you've lost your friend and how desperate you are to find them. Where can my friend be? Now suddenly, we bump into each other and scream with uncontained joy. Ah! 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 Good. Now, link arms and round we go once more, telling all our newfound friends how we found each other. We found each other.
Don't worry, I found him.
We found each other, then leave. The whole thing should take an hour, 90 minutes tops. Do that once a night for 3 months and you'll be the toast of the town. Heavens, is that the time? My Sanskrit class.